I don't think there's a more profound set of words that can come from such a respected source as your father telling you that they're proud of you. And I don't really mean this in some kind of hyperbolic way, I mean it in a literal way. Sit there for a second and imagine if your father just called you and just told you that they were proud of you and that they loved you. I know for many of you that might be impossible because maybe your father's dead, or maybe he just was never in your life to begin with, or maybe he's not the father that you wish him to be. And that's really the case for millions of people. And if this is the case for you, try to imagine whatever kind of father figure filled that void for you, calling and doing the same. Because despite any kind of modern propaganda that we may or may not be subject to on a daily basis, for me at least, the most important person that I've ever had in my entire life is my father. He's still alive to this day, and he's actually still with my mother. And I didn't always have the best relationship with him. Things weren't always hunky-dory. In fact, I had a lot of issues growing up because of my relationship with him. I always had a saying when I was in the military, and it kind of came from observation, but I always said that women with daddy issues may go on the pole, but men with daddy issues join the military, specifically combat arms. And it was interesting because no matter who I met from any background or whatever, it seemed like either the presence or the absence of their father, or even a presence of a father figure, for young men at least, it seemed to be the biggest impact on their life. It definitely was for me, no matter how bad my relationship had gotten with him, and luckily it is great now. Everything I did, I had in the back of my mind that it would make my father proud. And so thinking about myself and projecting it onto kind of the general reality or the world, and especially in video games, which is of course what this channel is all about, but fiction in general, the portrayals of fathers seems to be extremely lacking compared to what they used to be, I mean, even just 10 years ago. And it was funny because when I wanted to make a Father's Day video initially, I tried to look for fathers in video games that would be positive portrayals of masculinity, especially of fatherhood in general. And for some reason, almost all of them that I was able to look up or that I could remember, they're all surrogate fathers, or at least distant relation. But the general archetype of the father has been very degraded the last couple years into what we kind of know now as kind of dad slop. And of course by dad slop, I mean the kind of video game where the protagonist, or at least one of the leads, is a father figure, and the father figure physically is usually strong, but emotionally and his character, and especially in the example that he sets, which is probably the most important part of being a father, they're almost always weak-willed, and of course they're almost never allowed to lay down the law, or, God forbid, hit their children. Of course, the poster boy of this being Kratos from God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. And so I think it would actually be pretty fun on this Father's Day to talk about some of the best portrayals of fathers and of fatherhood in video games and fiction in general. Especially since by the time you're hearing or seeing this video, I actually might be a father myself, with my wife being due the day that I'm recording this. But I think a first good one might actually be the only non-video game fictional character I want to talk about as far as fatherhood, and it could really be nobody else except for Uncle Iroh from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
My uncle. He's always been on my side, even when things were bad. He was there for me. He taught me so much. And how do I repay him? With a knife in his back. It's my greatest regret. And I may never get to redeem myself.
You have redeemed yourself to your uncle. You don't realize it, but you already have.
How do you know?
Because I once had a long conversation with the guy, and all he would talk about was you.
Really?
Yeah, and it was kind of annoying.
Oh, sorry.
But it was also very sweet. All your uncle wanted was for you to find your own path and see the light. Now you're here with us. He'd be proud.
Ow! What was that for?
That's how I show affection.
And so initially when I wanted to make this, I wanted to keep it only to video games, but I just can't include a Father's Day video without including Uncle Iroh. Because although I've only seen the series one time, he of course is a standout character for everybody. Imagine Uncle Iroh telling you that he was proud of you and that he loved you. We see the results in the show.
Uncle, I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me. But I want you to know, I am so sorry, Uncle. I am so sorry and ashamed of what I did. I don't know how I can ever make it up to you, but How can you forgive me so easily? I thought you would be furious with me.
I was never angry with you. I was sad because I was afraid you lost your way.
I did lose my way.
But you found it again. And you did it by yourself. And I'm so happy you found your way here.
It wasn't that hard, Uncle. You have a pretty strong scent.
And he's a great example of what a father, especially in that time period that they're portraying, and for that culture, could be. But he has a lot of different characteristics that are universal. The first is unconditional love. And so, despite what Western people think, love of a father, of course, is unconditional. But this does not mean that they accept everything that they do. There is no such thing as a good father who has universal and unconditional acceptance. If this is the case for Iroh, then Zuko would never have redeemed himself. And he definitely would not have become the leader that he becomes later in the series. But I think my favorite thing about Iroh is, well, besides him doing his speeches, and of course his tea and his sense of humor, and of course him being the dad of basically everybody in the series, is he shows the importance that fathers have, or a father figure have, in raising a young man. If you take Iroh out of the series, I mean, there really is no series. Zuko is just his father's son, and he'll become exactly the same way as him. And if people grow up without a father or any kind of father figure in their life, they will most likely just not be as good of people as they could have been. He also shows the importance of mentorship and guidance, and he's one of the few people who actually shows a realistic way to actually break the cycle. You can imagine, which I don't remember, like I said, I've only seen the series one time, but I don't remember if they ever actually show Iroh and Ozai's father. But you can imagine the kind of man that he was. Because before we had the cheery little Iroh, Iroh was the war leader, and he was a tyrant in his own right. And so with the GOAT Iroh out of the way, I think the first person from video games we should actually talk about is Harry Mason from the Silent Hill series, specifically Silent Hill 1. And so Silent 1 has a bit of a special place in my heart because it was the first video game to actually terrify me to the point where I almost pissed my pants. The sheer horror of Silent Hill, especially back in the day when you see it on the PlayStation 1 for the first time, is just, it's truly unspeakable. And he is a perfect representation of the commitment and the courage that fathers have to have. And this dude is basically just a normal guy. He's a writer. He's not some soldier or some superhero. He's just insanely committed to getting his daughter back. And another character, which a lot of people might not even think about, is actually Wazuki from Chrono Cross. He is another example very similar to Harry Mason, where his act of heroism to save his son is just honestly unparalleled. I don't want to go over the plot of exactly what he does, but he basically sails across into a magnetic storm, and he basically sacrifices his own soul, his mind, his being to save his son. And against his will, he becomes the antagonist of the entire game. The next character I wanted to look at was Lord Shimura from Ghost of Tsushima. And so this one's very interesting because Jin's father, his real-life blood father, is actually killed, and his uncle, Lord Shimura, officially adopts him as his son. And this becomes an official legal thing later on in the game. But at the beginning, he's obviously the father figure that Jin grew up with. But throughout the game, Shimura, despite me having issues with the overall plot and kind of their forced issues that they have with each other, their disagreements, he did raise Jin with a certain set of principles and morals, and he shows exactly what a father should do when your kid does not follow those morals or he breaks your code. He still loves Jin, despite him fighting the Mongols in a different way that he deems dishonorable. And at the end, I always thought the absolute perfect ending was Jin killing his now adopted father. To me, that just tied it up in a sweet little bow.
I will make sure you are remembered as a great warrior, a wise leader, and a father.
Thank you, my son. Find me in the next life.
I will.
But Shimura, I think, is a very important aspect of what fatherhood is. Like I said before, universal love but not universal acceptance. You have to hold your children to a standard. And although in my opinion, I think, especially when you realize what real Japanese samurai from the time were like, I don't think this would have been an issue with him at all, as far as defeating the Mongols in quote-unquote dishonorable ways. In the context of the game, it does make sense that he tries to discipline and punish Jin for what he's doing.
The Shogun has declared you a traitor.
He ordered you to kill me.
The Ghost was an outlaw. He taught our people to defy their leaders.
To defend themselves.
With poison, a gift you gave to our enemy.
I had to stop you from throwing away our people's lives.
You have no honor.
And you are a slave to it. You are my son.
But overall, a great portrayal of what I believe a father should be. And so the next one will be a classic, which of course everyone will think of, but I actually think he is a good father for a different reason, and that's Joel Miller from The Last of Us, specifically from the first one. And so of course this game has been memed, it's kind of been lambasted, especially looking back in hindsight, especially when you see him as a much younger man when he's taking care of his original blood daughter, Sarah, and she ends up, of course, spoiler alert, if you haven't played it, which I'm sure everybody has, passing away literally in his arms. The subsequent events that makes him kind of become the surrogate father of Ellie, who of course is an orphan. It is extremely realistic, it's understandable. They know how to pull on your heartstrings in the exact right ways basically throughout the game. That's what makes the game overall pretty good. But I think the best portrayal of him as a father is actually the ending. And it shows a side of fatherhood that's actually very problematic, quote unquote, for the modern times. That fathers should and are morally obligated to go through any length to protect their children, even at the cost of other people's lives.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
And I think that even deep down, if you believe or don't believe that they could have made a cure, or that her sacrifice could have saved everybody in their kind of mind's eye, you know that he made the right decision. And if you're a good father, you would make the exact same decision yourself.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
Another extremely underrated dad is actually Partitio's dad, Papp, from the Octopath Traveler series, specifically Octopath Traveler 2.
It's a blank slate. It can be whatever we make of it. Long as we got the skill and gumption anyhow.
Wow, Pops. You sure got away with words.
I know, son. Swipe that line if you want.
No, I wouldn't do that. Even ain't right. A real merchant doesn't filch what they want. And they buy it.
That's my boy. Fine words. You do me.
Oh, I had an idea. If it was up to me, I'd split this whole plot with all our friends. And that way, we could all settle it together.
I like how you think, Chickadee. That'd make everyone happier than hens in a coop.
In this list, he's probably the least tragic because he's extremely positive, especially in the game. But if you've never played the game, Papp and his business partner go to a town called Oars Rush because there's a silver boom going on, and he's basically there to chase his fortune. But the biggest impact that he has on Partitio, his son, is that when things go terrible for him and his business collapses because all the mines go dry, he doesn't become some bitter, cynical guy. He stays positive, and he stays in the town to keep it afloat. And it's interesting because as you play with Partitio and you see him speak to other characters, you see him engage in the world, you can tell that he's almost a one-to-one reflection of his father. And I was always fascinated, especially when I was playing the game, that Partitio and his dad are basically the only portrayals I've ever seen of capitalism not being this ridiculously caricaturized version of itself. They are unironically trying to use the system of capitalism to better people's lives around the world.
It's been 16 years since we settled here. We started from nothing and had our fair share of ups and downs. Listen, I want you to look to the horizon. You're gonna be something if I reckon right. Something too big for this little town to contain even if it won't.
Pops?
Don't worry about us anymore. We can get along just fine without you. You've got too much potential for our little town. It'd just go to waste here. That's why I want you to hit that dusty trail already. Get along, little chickadee.
I don't regret staying here, not for an instant. But now, well, I know how painful poverty can be. We managed to weather our troubles here, even if just barely. But somewhere out there, I know there's folks suffering just as much as we did, or worse. I want to do what I can for them. Use my talents to make the world a better place.
Being a merchant ain't just about making bundles of leaves. It's the reason why that matters. I'm proud of you, son.
Pops.
You're no chickadee any longer. You're a full-fledged, bona fide merchant. Go on. Help others like you helped us. Bring prosperity to all those troubled folks out there. And show up that Rockefeller while you're at it.
Fellas. If you all say so, I got no choice now, do I? I'm hitting the road. I'll be back once I eliminate that devil called poverty from the world.
And I think my favorite thing about Papp as a father is just how mundane he is. He's very believable. The least believable thing is just how he doesn't react the way I would if the exact same circumstances happened to me. He's just an extremely positive role model for his son. And I definitely appreciate that in this modern era. And so the last example will actually be a bit of a trio. And it comes from one of my favorite games of all time, and it actually has very interesting archetypes of fatherhood. And that would be Lord Braska, Jecht, and Auron from Final Fantasy X. I think it says a lot about Lord Braska because we don't see him that much. He is, of course, present in the story, and he came before our party and stopped sin. But the biggest thing about him in relation to fatherhood is his legacy.
So, Yuna?
I've decided.
Oh, really? That's good.
I remember when I was only 7 years old in Bavel that day. My father had defeated sin, and the whole town was out in the streets. Everyone was laughing. They all seemed so happy. If I defeated sin, that would make everyone happy, wouldn't it? I must do what everyone wants, not just what I want.
And for some reason, this is something that's really not talked about, especially in video games, but in all of fiction, from what I can remember and everything I've seen. But you are your father's legacy. And I think anybody who is a father would be extremely proud to have somebody like Yuna as their daughter. And I think a really underrated part of the game, and a part of Braska's character, and especially Yuna's character, is that she spends the entire game trying to honor her father and honor his legacy, to make him proud. And instead of most modern media, which they always say the morally correct thing to do as a daughter or a son is actually to rebel against your father because new is good, old is bad, tradition is bad, and of course masculinity is bad. But Final Fantasy X, it does not treat it that way at all. If Braska wasn't the way he was, Yuna and the team that you have, there would have been no pilgrimage for her, and there definitely would have been nobody to defeat sin forever.
Hello, Yuna. I hope you are well. I wonder how old you are now that you're watching this sphere. You must be very beautiful, like your mother. I wish I could see you. Oh, by the way, Jecht and Auron send their regards. So far, our journey has been very entertaining. Of course, it is a hard journey, but I have no regrets. It is the path I have chosen. Yuna, when you have grown, you will have to find your own path. Do what you must do the way you want to do it. Doors will always open themselves to those who do. Listen close, Yuna. Your future is yours to make. Live the way you want to. Whatever way that may be, you have your father's full support. Yuna, I will always be with you.
Jecht is a very interesting one because I see a lot of my own father in Jecht, both literally and figuratively. So my dad was an extremely good athlete, especially when he was in high school. That's basically how people knew my last name when I grew up. But he did come on to drinking later on in life, and it really destroyed a lot of his life. But luckily, like Jecht, he got over it eventually. And me, unlike everybody else who knew my dad, when I was a teenager, I had a very different opinion of him, very similar to Titus, that everybody else did not have about him.
Mommy! Just a sec, dear.
Whenever my old man was around, my mother wouldn't even look at me. Maybe that's when I started to resent him, even hate him. When he left us, Mom just lost her energy.
Is she all right?
Why should you care?
If she dies, I wouldn't know what to do.
Don't say Mom is gonna die.
I apologize.
The old lady next door told me, when a lovebird dies, the one left behind, it just gives up living so it can join its mate. It was just like that. I hated my old man even more. But really, my old man...
Mommy! Just a sec, dear.
Go to him. He'll cry if you don't.
Everybody would always tell me how lucky I was to have him as a dad, how cool he was, whatever, but I had to deal with all of his darker sides. And so I think that's really why I connected to this game, especially to Jecht and Titus. And I think a very important thing that it does show, which I am trying my best to not have as a part of my own character when I have my son, is that we don't really say our feelings that often to our kids.
Hey, if you're sitting there watching this, it means you're stuck in Spira like me. You might not know when you'll get back home, but you better not be crying. Although I guess I'd understand. But you know what? There's a time when you have to stop crying and move on. You'll be fine. Remember, you're my son. And, well, never mind, I'm no good at these things. Anyways, I believe in you. Be good. Goodbye.
He sounded almost serious, but it was too late.
He was serious. Jecht had already accepted his fate.
His fate?
Jecht, he was always talking about going home to Zanarkand. That's why he took all those pictures, to show them to you when he returned. But as he journeyed with us and came to understand Spira and Braska's resolve, it happened gradually, but Jecht changed. He decided he would join Braska in his fight against sin.
So then, he gave up going home?
That was his decision.
I guess I understood. My old man, he knew there was no way back home, back to Zanarkand. He wanted to go home, but he knew he couldn't.
Wait.
Yeah?
Jecht loved you.
Oh, come on, please.
He just didn't know how to express it, he said.
Enough about my old man, okay?
I just thought you should know.
My father never really told me how much he felt, or how proud he was, or how much he loved me until very recently. The same with Jecht. Titus has this opinion that he basically is a nuisance to his dad, that his dad hated him, that he would never miss him, that he was not proud of him, that he was ashamed of him. But in reality, as you see through the spheres and the flashbacks, well, Jecht, of course, he misses Titus. He's proud of Titus. He's worried about him, and he's ashamed of how he treated him.
I've been doing some thinking. My dream is back in the other Zanarkand. I wanted to make that runt into a star blitz player. Show him the view from the top, you know. But now I know there's no way home for me. I'm never gonna see him again. My dream's never gonna come true.
And then we have Auron, who actually has a very interesting part in this entire story, because he's basically the surrogate father who remembers exactly the way Jecht and Braska were, and he tries to steer their children towards their wishes, respectively. And aside from aura farming like a motherfucker, Auron is actually pretty laid back and pretty hands-off when it comes to the characters creating their own story and making their own decisions especially. He really only jumps in when they're in actual mortal danger. And he's really the physical embodiment of the promises that both Jecht and Braska made to their children.
Smallest heap of huts I ever seen.
Now, that looks like a fine place to live. Auron.
My lord?
When this is over, could you bring Yuna here? I want her to lead a life far away from this conflict.
You have my word. I will bring her here.
Thank you, Auron. You're a good friend.
Can I ask you one last favor? Nah, never mind.
Out with it.
Okay, listen good. Take care of my son. My son in Zanarkand. He's such a crybaby. He needs someone there to hold his hand, see? Take care of him, will you?
But how am I supposed to go to Zanarkand?
Hey, you said it yourself. There must be a way to get there, right? You'll find it.
All right. I will. I give you my word. I'll take care of your son. I'll guard him with my life.
Thanks, Auron. You were always such a stiff, but that's what I liked about you.
And it isn't a coincidence that after those promises are kept, that, well, he can go and rest now. He can rejoin his friends.
It's been long enough. This is your world now.
And so I really wanted to keep it short. Of course, there's a lot of other fathers we could talk about. Those are the ones that I want to talk about, at least today. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, especially if you know any that are actually blood related. It's very difficult to find, for some reason in modern games especially, a lot of really good father figures that are actually blood related to their children that are in the game. But either way, guys, happy Father's Day. Tell your father, if they're alive especially, that you love them, and happy Father's Day, of course, to them, and that you're proud of them, because they're definitely proud of you. And if you have any other stories about your own dad or how they inspired you or whatever, I'd love to hear them. I love talking about my dad, and I'm honestly very excited to be one. But anyway, guys, have a good one. Cheers.